In Germany, Chancellor Olaf Scholz is under increasing pressure to hold a confidence vote in parliament after the collapse of his coalition government. The move would potentially pave the way for early elections. Scholz has said he'll call a vote of confidence after the new year, but opposition leaders and many German voters say that's not soon enough.
Olaf Scholz is in Budapest today, meeting with other EU leaders. Back home, the discussion about new elections is intensifying. Scholz's plan was for a vote in March, following the collapse of his government coalition earlier this week. But that's too late, according to 65% of Germans. In Berlin, opposition leader and Chancellor hopeful Friedrich Merz has also been pushing for earlier elections and an earlier vote of confidence by the Chancellor that would trigger them. Scholz, still in Budapest, has now stated he is open to discuss the election date in Parliament next week.
It would be good if we could now reach an agreement in the Bundestag among the democratic parliamentary groups on which laws can still be passed this year. This agreement should then also be able to answer the question of the right time to call a vote of confidence in the Bundestag, also with regard to the possible new election date.
Im Hinblick auf den möglichen Neuwahltermin.
Scholz's SPD is polling at third place, far off behind the conservative CDU-CSU and behind the far-right AfD. It's possible the Chancellor had hoped to wait until March to win back favor with voters. But that would have meant nearly 5 months as a minority government that would not be able to pass any legislation without opposition support.
Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz says he's open to negotiating the date of snap elections. Opposition voices are pressuring Scholz to call a confidence vote as soon as possible. The leader of the conservative CDU says it has to be clear who is leading Germany before Donald Trump is sworn in as U.S. president on January 20th of next year. Now, Germany was plunged into political turmoil this week. Scholz's three-party coalition collapsed on Wednesday after a budget dispute led to Chancellor Scholz firing his finance minister. Scholz initially called for a confidence vote in mid-January, paving the way for possible new elections in early March. But many of the chancellor's critics say that is just too late. Well, since then, Scholz has been facing criticism from the opposition over the timeline of the confidence vote.
We should discuss the date as calmly as possible. It would be good if the democratic factions in the Bundestag could reach an agreement about which laws can be passed by the end of this year. This agreement could also answer the question of when is the right point in time to hold a confidence vote in the Bundestag, also considering the possibility of snap elections.
A poll of German voters released on Friday shows that 2/3 want snap elections as soon as possible. We asked people in Berlin what they thought.
I think as quickly as possible.
Why?
Well, because the government is no longer capable of acting.
I'm absolutely not a fan of new elections. I would have found it better if they'd seen things through until next autumn.
The question now is whether you want a quiet Christmas or not.
As quickly as possible. Why? Because only a legitimate government is actually capable of making decisions that are supported by the population.
As was suggested by the SPD, I would say first in April or May. Before then, it's too early. No kind of election campaign could take place.
You want to ask an Italian, the faster the better.
The situation is currently very precarious, so I am in favor of as quickly as possible, so that everything stabilizes a bit and you can have a feeling of security.
Let's bring in Max Hofmann, DW's head of news. Max, polls show most Germans want snap elections sooner rather than later. Scholz has now signaled he's open to negotiate about it with the opposition. How likely is he to give in, you think?
Yeah, we just heard that he no longer insisted on the original date of the 15th of January for a vote of confidence, and that is a clear signal that he is understanding the pressure is too big to maintain this date. At least that's what we understand from it. There's pressure from all sides, of course, from the opposition party, and he needs the opposition party, the Christian Democrats, if he does want to pass some of those laws that are so important to what remains of his government coalition. So that is some room for negotiating from the side of the opposition there. But there seems to be also some kind of pressure building up from within his remaining coalition, from the Greens, that say it's hard to explain why we're not doing this earlier. And then, of course, there's the German people. We just heard those sound bites right there. And there were some quick polls conducted that also show that a majority of Germans seems to be in favor of snap elections as quickly as possible.
But there are others who warn against holding elections too early, namely Germany's federal election commissioners are really a voice of authority here. What is her reasoning?
Yeah, she knows what she's talking about, and she wrote a letter to Olaf Scholz because organizing an election like that is not trivial. You need a lot of things, very basic stuff. You need enough paper. Sounds easy, but it's not. You need the lists, you need registrations of the candidates. In some cases, for newly established parties, you need a certain amount of signatures. And of course, you need the people that are then there to conduct those elections at the voting booths. So not necessarily something you can do very easily. And normally you have 60 days between the dissolution of parliament and when these elections need to take place. And normally 60 days are enough. That's why you have 60 days. Now here's the problem. We're talking about the end of the year. So basically 2 weeks where not much happens in Germany, and that takes away 14 days of that time frame, and that makes it more complicated. And that's what the Federal Election Commissioner warned of. She said that if this election is botched because the preparations aren't conducted in a way that they need to be, then this might erode confidence in these elections, and that's something she wants to avoid at all costs, and that's why she wrote that letter to Chancellor Scholz.
Especially here in Berlin, we know a thing or two about botched elections. That was Max Hofmann, DW's head of news. Thank you so much.